What we're going to cover on this video is the appendicular skeleton, the individual bones, how to identify those, how to identify the parts of those appendicular bones, how to figure out how they fit together, laid out, and how they fit together. The skeleton, how you can tell left and right before you put them on the skeleton. And of course, have out your lab parts to know sheet for the appendicular bone lab. Now right away, you want to look at these appendicular bones and be able to tell which bone is which. Now on your right are the leg bones. The left, the arm bones. Notice the difference. The leg bones are a lot longer. Most of them are thicker. The arm bone's not quite as long and a little bit thinner. So if we go down here now, and of course, we should be able to recognize the pelvic bone quite easily with this fanning out part. When we get to the femur, go by the head, big ball of a head. And of course, the femur is the biggest bone in the body. Tibia, next biggest, lower leg, right down there. And then the fibula, skinny, but long. Of course, we have the foot, you should be able to recognize as opposed to the hand. Now for the arm bones, we should recognize the biggest one is the humerus. It's got half a head, not quite the big ball like the femur. We have this spool on the end for the hinge joint of the elbow. Then remember I said how to tell the ulna. It has a U-shaped notch, U for ulna. And then remember I said the radius has a circular head, like the radius of a circle. So those heads will fit against the humerus. And we'll go over the exact articulation here shortly. Then of course we have the scapula, which again you should recognize quite easily. That's the posterior scapula, and then we have the clavicle. The clavicle has a little curve to it. You can see it compared to the other arm bones. So the clavicle and scapula are going to make up the pectoral girdle. All right, let's start with the scapula. I'll point out some parts and then hold it up to the skeleton. All right, the scapula, that's from the anterior. Best to identify it from the posterior because right away we see that posterior spine. Then we can look for the acromion process, which is the tallest point, most superior point. So this would be the acromion process there. We have the fossa where the humerus comes out, the glenoid fossa. Then we have that other protrusion down here, the coracoid process. Remember, coracoid means crow. So we look from the anterior. We can see the coracoid process, the crow, and then the acromion process there. So if we're trying to figure out if that's right or left, get your bearings here. And you try to picture that on the back of your body, or you can hold it up to your body if you were in class. But we know superior, acromion process. We know lateral, glenoid fossa. And we know posterior spine. So we just take it and we hold it up to the back like that. Because I know this is lateral, that's superior, and then posterior is on the other side. I can see the anterior. Now, The clavicle, we said, has two ends. One's going to fit against the sternum, one against the acromial process. So this end, more rounded, is going to fit against the acromion process. This other end, flatter on the end, is going to fit against the sternum. So if we pick that up, we put it up here, this end sits up against the sternum. This end going to meet the acromion. You don't have to figure out left and right on that, but you can see how it protrudes right here near the sternum. Now we get to the humerus. We know the medial head has to fit against the glenoid fossa. The neck, and now we have the shaft. We have the deltoid tuberosity for the deltoid muscle. Down here, medial epicondyle. Medial sticks out more. We have our trochlea here. And on the posterior, we have that olecranon fossa here. That's on the posterior. We know that's posterior because this ulna, the U-shaped ulna, which has an olecranon process here, has got to fit in there, and this trochlear notch of the ulna has to fit around the trochlea, the humerus. So from the back, it's going to fit in like that. And that's going to be the tip of our elbow. If we turn it anteriorly, that's what it's going to look like. We can see the trochlea. And we can see the trochlear notch in the ulna. And then we flip it, and we can see the olecranon process fitting into the olecranon fossa. So since the olecranon is the tip of our elbow from the back, we know that the fossa has to be in the back. So we look at this, we know that that's posterior. We know the head is medial. Of course, we know the head is superior too. So we lift that up. It's going to go right like that on the left. If in doubt, I make sure that my medial epicondyle is on the medial. And I do have the left ulna and left radius here, but you're not going to have to tell the difference there. Recognize the ulna again with the U-shaped notch. That's the trochlear notch, since it fits around the trochlea. That's the olecranon process. Fits into olecranon fossa. And that's the head of the ulna. The other thing we have here is the radial notch of the ulna for the radius head to fit in, to rotate. So let's put this here with the humerus here again. Okay. Get that to stay. And then this radius head is going to fit right into the radial notch. And meanwhile, the radius, besides the circular head fitting into the radial notch of the ulna, besides the circular head, it has a radial tuberosity that fits against the ulna. So, and the radius head fits against the humerus. That's not the trochlea. called the capitulum. That's not on our list. But when we rotate our forearm, this moves like this against the ulna and against the humerus. When we hinge, bend, flex, we use the olecranon humerus joint, like that. Okay. And the only other thing here is the radius has this styloid process at the wrist end. Now if we take our hand, we put it in there, we see how those distal ends of the radius and ulna fit against the carpal bones. Left side. We're going to make sure that our radius leads to the thumb. Ulna leads to pinky. So besides our 8 carpals, then we have the metacarpals. Right after the carpals, then we have those 3 phalanges. Proximal, middle, medial, and distal. Let's go to the pelvic now. Let's get a distance picture again. We gotta move the foot up. We'll start with the pelvic area. So the pelvic bone, I'm going to hold it up like this. That's how it goes. Let's look at some of the landmarks before we hold it up to the skeleton. So identify the ones you know first. We know we're going to have the big ilium here. The pubic area is going to be in the front, so that's going to be this pubic crest here, and where it joins the other pelvic bone. This is going to be the ischial area, inferior and posterior. We're sitting right on that. We know this is going to be lateral, the acetabulum, because the femur is going to fit right in there. So we already have a lot of landmarks. We got anterior, pubic crest. We got lateral acetabulum. We got superior with the ilium. We got posterior, the ischium. And also posterior back here. There's the auricular area. Looks more like an ear there. Auricular means ear. As far as the other landmarks on here, ilium, iliac crest, auricular area. We have anterior superior iliac spine, posterior superior iliac spine, back here. I think it'd be more here. Oh, right in that area. They have inferior too. Posterior superior iliac spine, anterior superior iliac spine, acetabulum, ischial tuberosity, ischial ramus, obturator foramen, pubic crest, pubic symphysis. Let's bring in the other one. That's the left side, so if we get the right side and kind of put them together like that, and not going to stay. Oh, they are. Move the femur out of the way. Okay. This has got to be lateral, the acetabulums. Iliums has got to fan out on the lateral. Medial, we got the pubic symphysis. Anterior, pubic crest area. Posterior, we can go by the regular rough area where the sacrum is. Or we can go by the ischium, which we also know is the most inferior. Ischium and the ramus of the ischium. And you can hold this up. Like this. The best way, actually, somebody just hands you a pelvis out of the blue. Figure out how it goes, what's the anterior, posterior. Make a mask out of it. Like that. Okay. Where this ilium is the ear, we have the eye hole, the obturator foramen is the eye hole. Couldn't be down like this. The ear sticks up. So the ilium is your ear, obturator foramen is the eye. A mask. It's half the mask. I wish I had more hands. I could put the other one up too. Make a good Halloween mask. Now let's get to the femur parts. Here. All right, we got the head, neck, shaft. We got the greater trochanter on the lateral, head on the medial. Come down here, we have the condyles, medial being bigger. And here, I was talking about this in the other video, this smooth area is the anterior part called the patellar surface for the kneecap bone, patella. Now, since the kneecap patella fits right there, this is smooth, where bone joins bone, there's cartilage, smoother. If I turn this patella over, I will see the underside where it articulates with the femur is also smooth. But the outside, posterior, where it doesn't articulate is rough. So right away I know that this is the anterior part of the femur. The patellar surface, smooth. I know the superior is the head. I also know it's medial. I know the greater trochanter and lateral. Not anything real significant on the posterior, except the condyles can be seen better and they're smoother. So I take this and I put it up here. Can't be like this. It's not as hard as it seems at first to figure out right and left. There's no landmarks. Patella. Interesting patella. Whatever side you lay it down, it leans to is what side it is. See where my other patella is. There it is. So one patella, well, that actually leans to the right. So that would be right. This one leans to the left. So that's the left patella. Fortunately, I don't tell that, it's the right. All right, then we get down to the tibia. Now, this is the left tibia. That's the left femur. How do I know? Well, I know because this is the medial malleolus. It's got to be on the same side as the head of the femur, which is medial. I know this is anterior because I have the tibial tuberosity and I have the anterior crest, the shin. So on the tibia, I can see the condyles also, where it meets the femur. You can see where the condyles of the femur fit in there, to those little depressions, and they're smooth because it articulates right there. Now we're getting to the ankle area with this medial malleolus. We have to get the fibula now. Remember, the fibula is on lateral. Fibula, fibulateral. And remember I said the fibula does not articulate with the femur. It articulates with the underside of the tibial head. And then it's going to come down and have a lateral malleolus here. Now, lateral malleolus doesn't stick out as much, but it is longer. But the one you feel on your ankle is the medial malleolus, the medial of the ankle. I know this is the head. I can see where the smooth area here, right there, sits on the underside of the tibia. And if I looked closely, I would even see a smooth area on the underside of the tibia. That fits there. And then we get this lateral malleolus, smooth dip there, because that talus bone of the foot's going to fit right up in there. Like that. So for the fibula, just know it's lateral. Note its head fits against the underside of the tibial head. And know that the distal part makes up your lateral malleolus of the ankle. I'm feeling my lateral malleolus now. It's a lot longer than the medial malleolus, but the medial malleolus sticks out a lot more. See him? Okay. Now for the foot, it's hard to see me position how that talus fits up under there. I know I showed it on the other video, but it's going to fit right in there around this malleolus. So if I'm looking at the foot separately now, let me see if I can put it against the door. Okay. There you go. So that's the talus. You can see how the malleolus fits around the side because that's smooth. The superior part is smooth and the lateral part is smooth. Actually, that's the medial part there because my big toe is medial. So the talus, then you got your big calcaneus. So here's some more tarsal bones. And then remember, right in front of the tarsals, my metatarsals. Then we got the phalanges. 3. 1, 2, 3. Distal, middle, proximal phalanges. Big toe only has 2, proximal and distal. Okay. I think that should do it. I went over the landmarks, how to tell right and left, how they fit together. Give you another view of the skeleton there. Arms, thickly.